Please support us to check out Blog Official. Like, share, follow and subscribe. You can't hide behind your shield forever. That's what the hedgehog thought when he rolled into safety after speeding through the forest floor at top speed. He was being chased by a hungry fox, and the only thing between him and certain death was his trusty wooden shield. But the shield had taken a lot of hits and it wasn't holding up much longer. Sure enough, moments later, a splintered piece broke off and the fox was upon him. The hedgehog put his foot up to block the fox's snapping jaws, but the force of the impact sent him sprawling onto his back, and there he lay, his heart pounding, bracing for the end. But the fox didn't strike the killing blow. Instead, he let out an annoyed growl and trotted away. Confused, the hedgehog cautiously got to his feet and looked around. Where had the fox gone? Had he just given up the chase? Was he really that easy to shake off? With a shrug, the hedgehog decided not to push his luck and continued on his way. He'd had enough excitement for one day. Moments later he came across a group of field mice who were staring at him with wide eyes. "What's the matter?" he asked. "Why are you looking at me like that?" One of the mice squeaked. "You killed the fox." The hedgehog blinked. "What? How?" Before any of the mice could answer, a twig snapped in the bushes nearby and they all froze, the hedgehog included. A moment later, the limping form of the fox emerged, his tail between his legs. Seeing the hedgehog, he let out a furious growl and charged, but it was a charge devoid of any real aggression. The fox was scared, not angry. As he approached, the hedgehog noticed blood trickling down the side of his muzzle. It was then he realized what had happened. The shield, in its battered state, had not only protected him from the fox's snapping jaws, it had also managed to cut the fox's nose when it splintered. The mice, seeing the blood, began to scream and scurry about, but the fox paid them no heed. His eyes were fixed on the hedgehog, but there was no longer any predatory gleam in them, only fear. The hedgehog, understanding dawning on him, took a step back. So that's what it was. The mice, sensing his hesitation, began to squeak and chatter excitedly among themselves, convinced that the hedgehog had somehow bewitched the fox. To their way of thinking, only a powerful wizard could compel a forest predator to turn tail and flee in such a manner. But the hedgehog knew better than to take the credit. All he'd done was hope for the best and run away. The fox was upon him in an instant, and the hedgehog rolled into a ball, bracing for the inevitable. But instead of sinking his teeth into his prey, the fox did something that left the hedgehog even more confused. He licked his face. Then, as quickly as he'd appeared, he vanished into the undergrowth. The hedgehog slowly uncurled himself and looked around. Where had the fox gone? Why had he called off the chase? And why had he suddenly become friendly? Was this some kind of trick? As if to answer his question, a voice suddenly piped up from the bushes. "He's gone, silly sausage. Can't you hear? He's gone." Startled, the hedgehog jumped and spun around, knocking one of the field mice clean out. "I thought you said he was dead," he hissed, glaring at the mouse. The mouse shook his head, sending leaves flying. No, silly sausage. I said he's gone, as in he's gone away and he's never coming back." "Hooray," the other mice joined in, their voices rising in a triumphant squeak. "He's gone, he's gone, he's gone," they chanted, leaping and twirling in the air. "He's gone away and he's never coming back. Hooray, hooray, hooray." And so it was that the hedgehog learned that sometimes being slow can be a good thing, because if he'd been faster, he'd never have been able to roll into safety. If he'd been faster, his shield wouldn't have broken and he wouldn't have been able to scare off the fox. If he'd been faster, the mice would never have thought him a wizard and he might have ended up as fox food. So next time you're in a tight spot, remember, sometimes it pays to be slow.